Okay, biology, welcome to Kingdom Animalia, which means zoology, the study of animals. You will find this information in chapter 23, beginning in chapter 23 of your textbook. It goes from chapters 23 through 27. There are two major categories of animals. The two major categories of animals are invertebrates and vertebrates. Hereafter, I'm going to give you some sheets to fill out about these animals. Invertebrates will be the I's, vertebrates will be the V's. Okay, what's the difference, you might ask? I hope you are, because you will need to know the difference. And so I have a nice Venn diagram here. It's not the very best as far as my writing goes, but it does the job. Okay, so over here we have the vertebrate circle. Over there we have the invertebrate circle. And remember a Venn diagram, the stuff in the middle is the stuff that applies to both vertebrates and invertebrates. And the stuff outside the middle applies only to vertebrates. Stuff outside the middle there applies only to invertebrates. Okay, so what's the differences between vertebrates and vertebrates? Well, first difference. Almost all vertebrates have a head and some semblance of a brain. Okay? Our invertebrates don't even have heads. All right? Some of our invertebrates have some kind of mass of nerves that kind of clump together that's a little bit like a brain, but it's not a real brain. Okay? But most of our invertebrates don't even have a head. Okay? So that's a big difference right there. Okay? Our vertebrates, there's the C that should be in there. The definition of a vertebrate is it has a backbone. Okay? So if it's got a backbone, it's a vertebrate. And actually, phylum Chordata refers to a spinal cord. Not all chordates have that backbone, have a spine, but vertebrates do. And we're just going to kind of skip the chordates that aren't vertebrates because we just don't have time. Okay, but our invertebrates have no background whatsoever. Backbone whatsoever, no spine. All right? Our vertebrates have an endoskeleton, referring to your glossoverbicic. Endo refers to inside. Okay, like you. Your skeleton is on the inside of your body. You have to, this is kind of gross sounding, but on my arm, you have to cut through a lot of layers of tissue to get to my bones, right? Okay, so that skeleton is inside my body, all right? With our invertebrates, many of them don't even have a skeleton at all. But if they do have a skeleton, it's not over here, but if they do have a skeleton, they have something called an exoskeleton. Exo means outside of. So for the invertebrates that do have skeleton-like things, those skeletons are outside of their bodies. All the soft stuff is kind of encased in this shell kind of thing. Whereas with our vertebrates, that skeleton is on the inside. All right. What are some other differences? Okay. Another difference. Our vertebrates are often active, which means mobile, which means they move. Okay? Our invertebrates are very often sessile. And we talked about this word before. Sessile means they're stuck to one place. Okay? Let's come back over here. Vertebrates, and we'll talk about what symmetry means here in a second, but just take my word for it. Vertebrates are bilaterally symmetrical. They have bilateral symmetry. Our invertebrates are either asymmetrical or they have radial symmetry, and there are a few with bilateral symmetry, but most of them are asymmetrical or exhibit radial symmetry, and we'll talk about what that means in the next page here. All right. Another good difference between vertebrates and invertebrates is this thing right here, a post-anal tail. So beyond the anus, beyond the end of the digestive system, vertebrates have a tail. You have some semblance of a tail. I mean, you might be saying, well, I don't have a tail. Okay, but you have a little bone that extends beyond your anus and your backbone called the coccyx. And that actually, when you're in utero, when you're an embryo, there is a little tail that forms there. And some people are born with that little thing still sticking out, which can be no big deal and they just kind of cut it off, or it can be a big deal, leads to problems. It's called spina bifida. But anyway, all vertebrates have that postanal tail of some kind. Primates, it's very, very, very small. It's just a little bone that sticks a little bit beyond. But all other vertebrates, you can see that tail. Invertebrates have no tail like that. Talked about the symmetry and the symmetry. Okay, muy importante here. Oh, this is a good one too. Vertebrates, all vertebrates have, well, okay, not all. There are some exceptions, like some fish, okay? Let's just say, by far, most vertebrates have only 2 pairs of appendages. You have only 2 pairs of appendages. You have a pair of arms, a pair of legs. That's 2 pairs, okay? Whereas our invertebrates, if they have appendages, very often they will have several pairs of appendages. Okay, good example are insects. How many pairs of appendages do insects have? 3 pairs, they have 6 legs. Arachnids, how many pairs of appendages do arachnids have? Well, they have 4 pairs, 8 legs, and it can get bigger than that. The millipedes and the centipedes, those have many, many pairs of appendages, okay? We don't see that kind of numbers of appendages in vertebrates in general, okay? Most vertebrates have only 2 pairs of appendages. And another very important thing is that only 5% of all animals on Earth are vertebrates. The vast majority of animals on Earth, 95%, are invertebrates.